Welcome everyone to the ASV experience. I'm your host ASVP, and we just finished Money in the Bank. And you know what? It was pretty good card. The main event was pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy to see. It's not a thing WWE does, but yeah, it was pretty good. We also have, after the Money in the Bank review, the Undertaker, the Last Ride Chapter 1 review as well, which was just straight after Money in the Bank as well. So, pre-show of Money in the Bank, it was okay. It was Jeff Hardy taking on Cesaro. Just a classic, like a Raw or SmackDown match. Hardy wins, pretty good. Starting off the show, we had an 8-man tag team match for the SmackDown tag team titles. And it was the New Day taking on the Miz and Morrison, taking on Lucha House Party, and taking on the Forgotten Sons. It was a good match, had some high spots, again, Morrison, Lucha House Party, they were giving top rope maneuvers, which was pretty cool to see, and all that. At the end, though, the New Day retained. Now, in this match, it was either going to be two winners, Miz and Morrison or the New Day. See, the Miz and Morrison, I reckon, should have the title and should have kept the title from a couple of weeks ago instead of losing it on Raw, on SmackDown, sorry. But New Day retain, you can't do much about it. However, yeah, like I was saying, like the Miz and Morrison, they should have the title so they can propel it more and have new segments, new promos coming off them, just to play around it, because this way, they're just stuck in a fold like, the Forgotten Sons and Lucha House Party, and you don't really want to see them like that. Likewise, the New Day, they don't really need the titles for them to, do crazy, segments or something like that. But yeah, New Day retained. After that, we had R-Truth coming out. I think that's the first time we ever heard him sing his whole entire entrance, which was pretty funny as well. MVP comes out, and he's ready to take on MVP. Then the almighty Bobby Lashley comes out, and he tells MVP, he goes, move over, I'm here. He goes, I'm here. And so they have like a little battle. Bobby, beats him straight away, pins him, spear. It was alright. Then we had Bayley with Sasha Banks taking on Tamina for the SmackDown Women's Championship title. Now, it was actually a good match, a good back and forth. I actually really enjoyed this women's match. Tamina actually nearly wins here. She puts her on a Samoan, she gets her on a Samoan drop. 1, 2, however, Sasha comes in the ring. This goes like a distraction. Tamina goes, chasing after her. And when she gets back in the ring, Bayley then, tries to get her again. And, Tamina fights her off, puts her on another Samoan drop. Then Bayley again, she does a roll-up pin to her and gets the win. You can see like where this is going. You can see this is going to be like a Bayley and Sasha Banks, that's what's going to happen. Sasha's going to turn on Bayley or something like that. So yeah, so it was pretty, straightforward. Then we had Bray Wyatt taking on Braun Strowman for the Universal title. I predicted that Bray would come out as Bray, not the Fiend, and I do like that he came out as just Bray Wyatt, not the Fiend, because during the match you can hear Bray going like, I told him that you'll come back with us. When Braun puts the sheep mask on and like lures him, plays possum. And then Braun gets up and he's like, I'll never, bow down to you. And then Braun gets the win. Now, it was actually, like I was saying before, like a really good match. I enjoyed how they did it. Obviously, the feud is still going to keep going with the Fiend coming out. Yeah, it was pretty good. Braun looked strong. WWE doesn't position him always when it's got to do with, title pictures or all that to make him look strong. But I really enjoyed it. I'm going to like to see what's going to happen on. Then we had Drew McIntyre taking on Seth Rollins. Seth, the Messiah, comes out with a new entrance theme. Was pretty good, actually. It's like, he's all like Jesus and stuff like that. I actually did like that. So his new entrance is pretty good, And honestly, Seth, like every a year and a half, he always comes out with something new. If it was with the Authority, if it was, the Burn It Down gimmick that he had, with Becky and all that. Now the Messiah, the Shield. I really like that Seth, he doesn't do much, but he does reinvent himself completely different. And I actually really do like that. And I actually like him in this position as well, as the Messiah. And, yeah, they had a good match. Drew hits a Claymore. Drew gets the win, which, he deserves. And everyone, I think, knew that he was going to get the win. At the end of the match, Drew gets up and puts his hand in front of, Seth. And he's like, well done. Like, good on you, who wants to shake his hand. And everyone was probably thinking, Seth's just going to, lowball him, hit him with a curb stomp. But he actually didn't. He got up and he shook his hand as well. So is that Seth now, going to a babyface again? We have to wait for tomorrow to see what that is. Now, for our main event, literally like they have been, announcing and all that, the most unique Money in the Bank ladder match ever. It's something, we hardly or never see WWE do. And I like that they actually did something different with it. And I liked, that, because all of this, what's happening around the world is COVID and all that. I like how they actually did, not just a generic, 2 different ladder matches, but they put the women's and the men, together. And, from starting together, starting at the bottom of the corporate towers and working their way up to the ring. So I actually did enjoy this. Before we go on to that though, we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 matches only on this card. The card actually went for, I think it was, it went for 2.5 hours, I believe. So it was actually not that long of a card. And you know what? I actually liked that it wasn't. And I like that WWE didn't put a lot of matches on. And they actually let them, some matches which would go on for 15 minutes, they let to go for 20 minutes. Like the Bayley and Sasha taking on Tamina. We all know that match would have went for if there was more, people on the card, that match was like a 6-7 minute match. However, it went for a good, 12 to 15 minutes. So I really enjoyed that all the way. And yeah, like I was saying, so back to the Money in the Bank ladder match. So they all start off at the bottom. They all do their unique entrances, which was great. And I actually loved how they did this. The start of this, from them going to the top, to the roof of the, WWE headquarters, they were doing little, just little shenanigans along the way and all that, which I really enjoyed. And then when they got to the actual, ring, that's when they started going, heavy into wrestling and all that, going more serious. So starting it off, we have straight away Asuka going into the escalator before any other women, and she's going up and she's dancing and yelling and singing in the escalator. Love that. We have Ray running and Brother Love making an appearance, was just crazy, and Ray going whoa, that's pretty cool. Then we have, Daniel Bryan with, he hits his yes kicks on Corbin. And you have Otis going, every time he kicks, he's going, yes, 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 love to see that. And then you just see Daniel Bryan go to Otis and start kicking him. Absolutely frothed it. You have AJ Styles walking around trying to look for Ray. And he gets to an Undertaker poster and he looks at him and he gets really scared and he's like, whoa. He's like, what's this? And the door opens right next to the poster and it's a coffin in there and he's like, what the hell? He goes, I ain't scared. He goes, what's happening here? And then Alistair, kicks him in the back of the head, pushes him into the room and locks the door. Really like saying that. We had then, Paul Heyman, he's sitting down eating food, and then the women and the men competitors, they come and they all stop and they look at Paulie and they're like, what the hell? And then you see Otis starting shaking and shaking and shaking. And then he's like, yep, I want a food fight. And then he gets food and he chucks it at Paul. And then everyone just starts going crazy. You get Rey Mysterio getting choked out by Shayna Baszler. Absolutely loved it. And then after that, all of that was happening, you have Nia going, to the roof, Otis going to the roof. Then you have, Vince, Vince's office segment with, Daniel and AJ, and how everything happened in there. And then after they leave, you have Vince, get sanitizing his hands because there was he came in contact with people. And I think that's probably the first time like WWE has showed anything about like to do with this COVID and Corona stuff, which is pretty funny to see. So yeah, then we made our way on the roof. Fun transition from the start. Then this is when like it starts to get a bit more serious. You have the women first coming out. You had Asuka coming out and all that. Nia Jax, and they're battling, and Asuka goes on the ladder, and then Baron comes out, and Baron's going up the ladder, and then you see Asuka going like get out and just kicks him off. It's just classic Asuka to see. It was very good. Asuka then gets the Money in the Bank, and then that finishes, and then we have Ray and Alistair, coming out. Corbin's there, they're all fighting. Otis comes out, AJ comes out, having a little scuffle. Then we have Corbin throwing Ray and Alistair. Looks like that he got through off the building, which was pretty hectic to see. There was just a few exchanges as well with AJ, Baron, and all that. Then they end up on top of the ladder. Elias, out of everyone, comes out, gets his guitar, hits it on Corbin. Corbin falls. But whilst Corbin was falling, AJ and him both had the Money in the Bank in their hands. So Corbin lets it go. Then AJ has it, slips out of his hand. And then at the bottom, you have Otis standing there and catches the briefcase. And it was absolutely hilarious. He gets the briefcase. And AJ's like, what the hell? Otis accidentally hits, the back of the ladder. AJ falls off. Otis standing there. He's like, Mandy, I did this for you. Absolutely great to see. But yeah, it was pretty good. Like, they could have given more to the Money in the Bank ladder match. To see more spots on the top of the roof with like the ladders and all that, which you never get to see. But all in all, overall, it was a pretty good, card. It wasn't like a SummerSlam or Royal Rumble that hyped. So it was alright. It was good to see, and it was good to see that we didn't have the Raw Tag Team titles where, the Viking Raiders are having something with, the Street Profits. It didn't put in, Mandy and Sonya Deville. Like, it actually, like, just had a few storylines. It didn't have everyone's storyline in one pay-per-view where they usually just do that. Put, like, 15 matches in a 3-hour pay-per-view, all the storylines, get it over done with, and start something fresh. So I actually really enjoyed that as well. Yeah. So then after that, we had The Undertaker Last Ride, Chapter 1. And, they're trying to play this off as, like, the last dance. It's so anticipated. It's so, viewed. Everyone cannot wait to see. And honestly, I actually believe that. Because The Undertaker, one of the best, gimmicks ever in wrestling, in professional wrestling. One of the, greatest entertainments out there. One of the, if not the actual Mr. WrestleMania. Sorry for that, Shawn Michaels. But yeah. So we start off and we actually get to know the journey from 2017 to 2020. And, we get to see that journey and how Undertaker goes through it. Now, obviously, as you may seem, the last ride, as in that would be his later career than his earlier career. And so it's a 4-part, chapter of this, little mini series that they're having on with The Undertaker. And, he goes through his streaks a bit, but mostly, the later ones, as predicted. We have, Taker talking about him and Brock Lesnar match, and how he was saying, he had absolutely no clue, like, throughout his whole match. He got concussed. He doesn't know when he got concussed. But, he just can't remember his match and all that. And you see, after that, they take him to hospital. And, like, the first people that are already at the hospital when Undertaker arrives is, Vince McMahon and Brock Lesnar. And, Undertaker goes, why are you here? Don't you have a WrestleMania to do? And, Undertaker's like, I do, but you're more important. Vince says that to Undertaker. And, like, you just see, like, the sympathy side, like the sympathetic side of Vince. because all we're usually known to know Vince, he's like shocking booking, releases talent when he wants to. That's what we really know much about Vince. But yeah, you can see here, like, he's a real genuine person, and he should be. It's the Undertaker, probably one of the most prolific and best wrestlers he's ever had at the company. And they're at the hospital, and Michelle McCool is actually saying, he's like, he can see Undertaker's telling, like, the girls and all that. He's like, oh, come here, like, what's my name, this, that. And you can just see all of that. And Michelle said, like, the next day at 4 a.m. that's when Taker knew his name. Like, it took that long for him to come. So it was like such a severe concussion that he got during the match. And after that, you can just see how, like, run down Taker was, and like how bad he felt, and just how he just had no motivation, and he had no dedication. He also didn't have like the amount of will to go on anymore. However, next year Vince gets him back up, and he's like, look, you're taking on Bray. And start of it, you see Bray saying, he's saying, Undertaker, he's like, for a guy that, like, what happened to him last WrestleMania until now, he's not even phased. Like, it's so cool to see. And then after that, you see the Undertaker talking about, how it was pretty emotional, how, he had a bit of, tension. Yeah, he was a bit scared to actually go into another match. So it just shows, how much, Undertaker, like, holds himself up and has no emotions and all that his own, like, the person he's going up against couldn't even see. He couldn't even see that. And before the match actually happened, Triple H comes out and he goes to him. He's like, "What are you doing, Taker?" He goes, "You're the fucking Taker." He goes, "You do what you do, and it's your WrestleMania." And throughout this, you actually see Taker and Triple H, as very close mates, as companions. They're always hugging after the matches and all that. Very cool to see, actually. And even with Shawn Michaels as well, with them as well. So you can just see, like, them coming from, like, the early 90s till now, like, in the 2020. Like, it's literally, like, 30 years on, and they're still, like, close and all that. Pretty cool to see. However, after the match of Taker and Bray, Taker reckoned, Taker went good, and he gave him a bit of motivation and confidence in him again. And then you see after that, Undertaker, Hell in a Cell matches, teaming up with people at the Royal Rumble, and and so on. And you just watch, backstage, you see how much people, like, how much they love him. You see how tough Taker is. You see that everything he does is just for the love of the business, and just for the business as well. And it's just, you don't see talents like that anymore. He was such a great role model backstage. And through the midst of all that, we have Jericho, Le Champion, has his little segment talking to Taker and all that, and has a little interview. And I like that they wrote, they put that in, and they wrote former WWE superstar and stuff. I like that they put him in, just didn't take him out because he's at AEW, But after that, they were building to the Reigns and Taker preview, and a lot of us didn't know during getting hyped and all that. That's actually the plans were for Taker and Reigns to actually, Reigns to beat Taker, and that's Taker's, last ride. And that's why Taker did, he took his hat off, he took his coat off, left it in the middle of the ring, and just, walked away from it. And I think everyone thought, that's Taker's last ride and all that. However, at the end of this episode, we see, Vince going, like, we all knew that he wasn't ready to stop, and he couldn't let go of it, and it just finishes there. Can't wait to see the next, chapters and all that of what's happening. It's actually unbelievable to see, like this way of Taker, because we hardly ever see him like this. So yeah, that was the Money in the Bank review. Also the Undertaker last chapter review. Yeah, so like it was pretty good overall for both, for the episode and for the Money in the Bank pay-per-view. I liked how they did everything. So yeah, thank you for listening. Stay tuned for more, guys. Bye.